So, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's therefore my honor and pleasure to welcome here the man who also loves education to the core, the chairman of the NESG, Mr. Folusho Phillips, to welcome all of us.
Mr. Vice President, the Honorable Minister for National Planning, the Honorable Minister for Education, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the 20th Nigeria Economic Summit. This is the 20th summit being held in the 21 years of the formation of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group. With the NESG, we at the NESG continue to feel proud of the great achievements and contributions we have made in influencing and formulating policies that have contributed to the development of the Nigerian economy. And I am personally humbled by the opportunity I've been given to serve as chairman of this phenomenal organization. Very much like last year, this summit will focus on a single sector. And the theme is transforming education through partnerships for global competitiveness. Transforming education through partnerships for global competitiveness. So all our attention and deliberations over the next few days will center on education. Our annual summit this year has come really early, and this has been informed by the very busy national and global calendar within which we have to work. Barely 2 months from now, Nigeria will be hosting for the first time the global gathering of the World Economic Forum for Africa, which has been meeting in different parts of Africa for the past 24 years, 18 of which have been in South Africa. The meeting has come to Nigeria and will have in attendance global players that are looking to Africa as the next great emerging continent. This indeed is an honor for our country, Nigeria, but stresses also the urgency to fix the things that are clearly broken. Beyond the need to accommodate the dates for the World Economic Forum in Africa, our choice of this week is in realization that once the WEFA, as we call it, is completed, preparation for the 2015 general elections will take center stage. In this circumstance, planning to hold a summit later in the year will be a distraction for many people. So much has happened in the near 4 months since we held the last summit, NES 19. And please bear with me while we recap very briefly about that summit, because it was a truly successful one. You would doubtless all recall that the 19th Nigerian Summit was held from the 3rd to the 5th of September 2013 at this same venue. And in attendance was the President and the Vice President and several cabinet ministers and state governors, along with top CEOs and major players from all sectors of the economy. Of particular significance was the participation of our youths, the next generation of Nigerian farmers, who we nicknamed the Nagropreneurs. The theme of that summit was growing agriculture as a business to diversify Nigeria's economy. Some specific recommendations were made at the conclusion of the summit, and let me share some of them with you. The Federal Executive Council, as a result of this, has adopted several policies, but beyond these policies, the government is currently seeking legislation to support the agricultural transformation. For example, backing has been given by the federal legislators to make the Growth Enhancement Scheme initiatives into law. A draft bill has been prepared and is being reviewed by the Office of the Attorney General. There is now a formal national policy on the staple crop processing zone, and drafts of the bill have been prepared and reviewed by key stakeholders. The creation of a commodity exchange under the auspices of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is being actively discussed with several international interested parties who have experience in this field. The response from the private sector and the multilateral agency is also worth mentioning. Since the last summit, a number of private sector agribusinesses have decided to make major investments, and they include Cargill, which is well celebrated, investing $100 million, but is nothing near Dancer Foods of the Dangote Group that has already committed $515 million in investment in the large-scale production of tomatoes, rice, and sorghum in Kano State. And Flour Mills of Nigeria has also committed about $217 million in processing cassava. It is important that we note these things and even celebrate these successes. So that's a very, very brief summary of what happened last year. But let me move on, as the Economic Summit Group, to talk a bit about the economy very briefly. At 6% last year, our national economy continues to show robust growth in output. We should, however, note that commendable as this performance is, it remains below the levels that we achieved before the global financial crisis. As advocates for continuous improvement in the operating environment for business, we note the slowdown in inflation in 2013, falling to 8.5% from 12.2% the previous year. In the context of bringing the rate of inflation to levels similar to our peers, we note with concern the continuing weakness of our currency, the Naira, as a consequence of declining reserves associated with our falling revenue. With our foreign reserves falling below $39 billion and expected to continue to fall, our currency is extremely challenged, and monetary policy options and choices are getting harder. If the continuing leakage in oil revenue is not addressed and drastic steps are not taken to slow down or stop the reduction in our foreign exchange reserves, then the tightening of monetary conditions will be required to hold the value of our currency. This will have a negative impact on lending rates, aggravating the existing challenges faced by commerce and industry. It is therefore pertinent to stress that allowing the Naira to weaken in response to these seemingly avoidable conditions will undermine the strategy of import substitution on which Nigeria's economic development strategy is based. The central bank recently raised concern about unaccounted for oil revenues. Whilst the actual figure is in contention, the point is that millions of poor Nigerians cannot afford to lose even a kobo because all these monies belong to the Treasury and must be paid to the Treasury. Whilst we commend Mr. President for committing to thoroughly examine these allegations, we also appeal on behalf of the Nigerian populace that the outcome of this investigation be made public, and more importantly, those who are responsible are held accountable. Unfortunately, too many investigations in the past have remained inconclusive. Power. The privatization of the power sector has become a reality. The government has sold and so privatized our power generation and distribution assets and thus liberalized the power sector to allow private investors to invest and build new infrastructure in the power value chain, which is expected to get constant electricity to our homes and businesses. This initiative by government has been recognized as one of the most comprehensive and transparent privatization exercises in recent times, not dissimilar to the integrity of the telecommunications privatization process. We must congratulate the federal government for this. But having said this, transmission continues to be the weakest link, faced with great challenges posed by the physical state of that infrastructure. This is further complicated by the challenges to power generation from a struggling gas supply system. Unfortunately, Nigerians expect the gains from this electricity reform to be immediate, but the reality is that it may take 3 to 5 years to get sustainable power. So much work and additional investments need to be made by the new owners, who are also desperate to guarantee a wholesome return on their investment. But beyond electricity, it is heartwarming that our country now has a national integrated infrastructure master plan. This master plan has identified a need for $2.3 trillion over the next 40 years to move our investment in infrastructure up to global standards. This is to be a public-private partnership initiative. That plan must not remain on the shelf. We need to see this plan move to the next level for execution. And we appeal to our co-host, the Honorable Minister for National Planning, to ensure that the implementation of this master plan is initiated and legislated to outlive the whims and caprices of governments of the future, and so create a more sustainable infrastructural development plan.